I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions. I'm not afraid to just come right out and ask.
Yeah.
And I think rejection, the thing that you asked about the rejection part is, when I was younger, I was always asking for something. I was like, oh, I want that car. Dad, come on, we got to go buy that convertible. And he just thought I was crazy, but just things like that. And then eventually it was like, can I borrow the car? No. Can I borrow the car? Well, you're not using it tonight. Like, can I borrow the car? Well, what if I put gas in it? Like you're just constantly like, I wore him down so much that then he just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Then it was never a no, but it was never a yes. And then I just kind of like grabbed the keys and then, okay, see ya later. And then I just left. And then it was just, it's almost like you just keep asking, and the persistence and the determination to go after what it is that you want. And that's really what it was.
When I set a vision in my life and I look at my faith, my family, my business, my health, my wealth, I want other people in these real stories to hear the real stories of that journey.
I have everything that I've wanted, like in terms of family life, beautiful wife, making good money, and like my world's upside down right now in my head.
God is so good. He shows us his hands. Like people think miracles are like someone being instantly healed. It's so much more than that. They can be the smallest things where he shows his goodness in your life.
If you think of something and you believe it and you see it in your mind, it's meant for you. Go chase it.
See you in the next episode of Real Stories. Today on the Real Stories podcast, I'm joined by someone who is not only a top performing agent, but a long-standing friend and someone deeply respected across Keller Williams and beyond. Barbara Best. Barb is known for combining elite performance with genuine care, building a business rooted in relationships, trust, and exceptional client experience with a luxurious and fun touch to every transaction. From her early days in sales to leading one of the top teams in Keller Williams, her journey is one of grit, determination, laughter, and heart. What I love most about Barb is that behind the scenes success is someone incredibly generous, deeply loyal, and truly joyful, full of love. And today we're going to share that story behind it all. Welcome, Barbara Best. Welcome, Barb Best,
Thank you.
to the Real Stories podcast. We're going to get started.
Okay.
When people see your success now, what part of your journey that you went on to get there do you not think people see or could even relate to or understand?
Yeah, I think it's all the things that are behind closed doors. It's all the no's. It's not just the little no's. It's the soul-crushing, heartbreaking no's that you get. It's the people that didn't believe in you when you tried to get a job or a certain role or something. And I think that's actually what kind of fuels the fire in me anyways. And I'm just going to prove them that they were wrong. And, I heard a lot of those no's in the beginning. And, I can give you an example is when I graduated from university, I had a business degree and there were so many people getting all these jobs in blue chip companies and things like that. And I was like, I'm going to take this job selling photocopiers. It's 100% commission, and I'm going to go see if I'm good at this. And everybody thought I was nuts. And so I started in the first 3 months. They called 10 sales reps in. I was only there for 3 months. And they fired us all 10 sales reps. They said, our companies were downsizing, and if your name is read out, you're going to be let go. And then at the end, they read out all these names, and they said, well, there's a manager that wants to interview 2 of you. And my name was called. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just finished getting my degree and this and that. And anyways, the next morning I had an interview with this manager, and he really believed in me, and he couldn't believe that, this was happening and would I like a job on his team? And I said, absolutely. And that was a real turning point in my life because I wanted to prove him right. And I was determined to.
I love it. And then you obviously did. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Go into some details about what you learned selling photocopiers.
Well, the best advice I was given for sales was treat it like a game. And it was basically, working it backwards. How much money did you want to make and how many photocopiers did I need to sell in order to earn that? So I figured out if I could sell 10 photocopiers in a month, I could go to Vegas next month type of thing. And so I just kind of treated it like a game. but more importantly, at that time, I was determined to prove this manager he made the right decision. And that particular year, our company was giving away a 1996 Sea Ray ski boat. And I'm like, I walked by it every day in our office. They brought it into our office, and I'm like, I'm going to win that boat. I am going to win this boat. And I cold called, and I went out to businesses. We were selling fax machines, and I'm dating myself, but we were selling fax machines and photocopiers. And I was like, I'm going to get as many tickets into this contest as possible. And the long and the short of it is I won that boat.
Wow. I did not know that. Where'd you put it?
I brought it up to the lake. It was funny because we owned a place. We rented a place at Cultus Lake, and my dad, God bless him, he had a boat and it died, and so we didn't have a boat for a while. And we loved water skiing, and I'm like, I'm gonna win this boat. I'm gonna win this boat. So when I called him, he couldn't believe it. And then of course this boat shows up, and the boat slipped, and there hadn't been a boat there for a while, and everyone's like, where the heck did Bob get that boat? So it was kind of a fun story. It was this beautiful boat.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was just so fun to win that. And then from then on, I just was so determined to just keep excelling and keep believing.
And do you think it was all the prior no's that you had gotten that really pushed you to keep proving people that you can succeed?
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting time. I was on the fax machine team. It's going to sound funny, but I really just wanted to sell the big photocopiers because that's where the money was. And there were probably 8 teams in our company at that time. And the managers, I don't want to make it a gender thing, but at that time, it really was. It was the big boys downtown. And I just couldn't get a job on the photocopier team. And then another manager came along and said, I want to hire you. It was a different division, a different make of copier. And I was like, no, I want to do this. And I wanted to prove him right, that he made a good decision. And I outsold every single agent in that office.
Wow.
In big photocopiers.
The big photocopiers.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How old were you when you did that?
25 to 30.
Okay.
When I was in that.
So you did it for about 5 years?
I was with that company for 15 years, but I was in that role for 5 years. Yeah.
Nice. That's pretty incredible. And I love the boat story and bringing a smile to your dad's face and all the neighbors asking, where's that
Where
from?
the heck did Bob get that boat?
Oh my gosh.
It's a funny story.
Who were you before real estate? You obviously had like this beautiful upbringing with grandparents and awesome parents. Who was Barb as a kid?
Well, if you were to ask that question to somebody else, they would probably say that I was a combination of bubbly and aggressive or energetic, maybe. And, I played every sport. My mom and dad were great about that. Just try everything. My brothers were all in sports. And so sports was a really big thing. And, I remember going to my first ballet class, which I didn't want to do, but my mom had 3 boys and really desperately wanted a girl. And so anyways, I go to this ballet class and, again, I don't remember what happened, but a wrestling match happened. I don't remember the details, but the lady called my mom and said, maybe she should stick to soccer. Anyway, soccer was my love. I love playing it. I begged them not to send me back to ballet. And then I ended up playing soccer for Simon Fraser University on a scholarship. Wow. Yeah.
Neat. So you naturally excel in different things that you're passionate about, it seems.
Yes.
That's a trend that I've actually found often in people who have high levels of achievement, that it's not just usually in one thing, it's in multiple things that they really love. Do you feel that that's accurate and true for you?
Yeah. I mean, I loved it because I didn't have to be a certain height to play that sport. And I was little. And I could just run around everybody and score goals. And I was like, I love this. This is so much fun. Basketball wasn't my thing. I tried a whole bunch of different sports, and that's soccer was what I really loved.
What would people closest to you say makes you you?
I would say they'd say it's a combination of things. Probably somebody that if you needed to ever celebrate anything, you're going to have a blast. But at the same time, my serious side is I'm a very compassionate person, and I think sometimes, people have to go through some hardships to become as compassionate, in that space. And, when I'm in my job now, I'm always trying to save people. Like if I go to an elderly person's home and I see that they're, having a tough time, maybe keeping their house, I'm always trying to figure out ways that I can help them, and just compassion and fun. And I'd say that's a combination of those two. And
I would
energy.
agree.
Yeah.
I would fully agree. Can you maybe tell me a story from your childhood that perfectly describes the combination of those things, or like how that came to be? Because obviously the being able to relate to someone who's going through hardship, you can do that. But at the same time, you can have an absolute blast. And you love the rough and tumble sports. So I want to hear some stories about your childhood and like how this came to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And I think some of it's probably innate and some of it's environment. And I think growing up with 3 older brothers where, like WWF wrestling after dinner was a thing. Like it was just the coffee tables were cleared in the living room. My mom was yelling, "You're going to hit your head and someone's going to hurt themselves." But it was full on, like it was, every day. And I think just growing up in that kind of fun sort of like, fighting for yourself kind of environment. Of course, my brothers were awesome with me. If one of them was like, rough with me or whatever, the other 2 would jump in and then beat him up. So it was just awesome that way. But I don't know. I think just being in that kind of environment and learning, going from there.
Living the real life of growing up with 3 older brothers. I can relate. I can like see the way that you grew up because I have the 3 older boys and Bella, and my master bedroom actually becomes the WWF ring. They pull out their boxing mitts, and I mean, it is just wild. And I'm yelling. Yeah. I'm like, no. Same thing though, Henry. If anyone like goes at Bella, look out for little Henry.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What do you think of your upbringing shaped your work ethic and drive? Obviously, the fun energy comes from one element. So if you had to identify some things you learned along your childhood or seeing your parents, can you explain that? It's always a mystery to me. 1, I have young kids and want to make sure they turn out like you. And 2, I just find it really neat because I do believe there's a formula to success and all you have to do is sort of follow those formulas. And I'm curious about yours.
I'd say my dad had a really big influence. I mean, the funny part of the story is, the vacuum cleaner up against the door on a Saturday morning, like you're wasting the day away, bang, bang, bang. Like my brothers all got that too. It's like, well, what are we waking up for? Like it's Saturday, right? It's Sunday. It's like, come on, you're wasting the day away. It was always like, don't waste the day away. It was always like, I think it was just ingrained, like you could be doing something, right? And, when I was younger, I was always like, oh, can we buy this? Can we buy that? And my dad was always like, no. If you want to buy your own things, you're going to have to make your own money. And just over the years, just hearing certain things, like another one was, it's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep.
Yeah.
And so I would hoard like money in my drawer when I was young. Like if I got paid to go wash a car or something, I'd be like, I'd add it all up and be like, okay, now I can go buy my own stuff, whatever that was. And so it was at a young age that I learned, like my bank account was in my top drawer and I just kept putting money in there so that I could go buy something. And I just sort of learned that habit at a young age. And then when I finished university, I didn't have a choice. It was like, oh, you're going to university. So there were things that my parents were very, this is what you're going to do. And I was like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing. And so I go to university and then I get this job after. And I remember one morning I was kind of like, I lived in the basement suite after my grandparents passed. So I moved into the basement suite. And so I'd be leaving for work and it would be kind of later. My dad would be like, well, why are you so late? And so he would always say things like, you show up and you show up on time, whether you have an appointment or not. Like you got to show these people that, and so I've ever since, I just made it a habit. And then since that day, it was always just a habit. I always showed up. I remember my very first real estate, when I got my real estate license and I was off work for a while and I join this company, and I had my little briefcase, and I showed up at the brokerage at 8 a.m. and I was like, where is everybody? And it was pitch black. And I looked at the door and it said office hours 9 a.m. to like 5 or something. And I was just like, what is happening here? Like, who opens a brokerage at 9 a.m.? Like, I was mortified, right? And so I went to the coffee shop for an hour and I was like, wow, these people really start late. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I remember walking in and the manager at the time goes, what are you carrying? And I'm like, what? And he goes, is that a briefcase? And I'm like, so anyways, I came from the corporate world. I thought this is how you behave. But anyways, and it's just a different way.
Mm-hmm. Really interesting that your father set you up for success in these little nudges and teaching you about different things coming from someone who just saw probably your drive and wanted to encourage you in the right direction.
Yeah, and I did ask for a lot of things. I mean, a girl at school got a convertible Rabbit or whatever they're called, Golf Rabbit or whatever. It was really popular then. And I came home and I was like, well, can I have one of those? My dad just laughed at me like, no. So it was always like, no, right? You know, he had 4 kids and 1 income type of thing. And so I just, you ask a lot about rejection and hearing no. I just got used to hearing no, that it didn't really mean that much. I was just like, well, I'll just go get it. Okay, well, then I'll go do it then. Okay, well, I'll go buy my own car then. Fine.
Can you also take us back? Because I know over lunch a few weeks ago, we were talking about you and how you absolutely thrived as a co-op student in the most funny arrangement because you didn't want to take any of the other co-op jobs. So I would love to hear about how that came about in the most interesting way and what were the funniest and hardest lessons to learn from that experience.
Okay, so I was going to Simon Fraser University at the time, and there was a co-op business program. And I just always knew I wanted to be in sales, but there was no sales program at university. It was a business degree that had marketing and things like that. So there was this co-op board that you could go and apply for jobs. And I saw one sales job and I got to get this job. So I applied for it. I may have been the only one that applied, but anyways, it was selling vegetables. And I mean, it's a little bit more luxurious than that. It was selling greenhouse grown vegetables. So these are vegetables not grown outside with pesticides or anything. It was in a controlled environment and they were the luxury vegetable. Okay. And so I go to the interview and the man is like, we're just a sales team of 4 and it's all men and it can get a little rough language around here. And I'm like, that's okay. I grew up with 3 brothers. I have no problem with that. So anyways, they hire me. And on my first day, these 2 men were going to sort of give me my scripts. And one of them, I swear, like he ate cigarettes for breakfast. And on the coffee break, he was for sure, it was not coffee. He was drinking whiskey or something. And then the other guy was this super clean cut guy. So I was like, who do I listen to? And the cigarette guy, he was just like, just tell them to F off if they don't buy the skid of cukes. And I'm like, what? What is that? What have I gotten myself into? And then the other guy said, oh, no, don't say that. And so anyways, the long and the short of it is I had basically maybe 5 customers that I had to sell produce to before the produce died. So it was an inside sales job. No one saw what I looked like or anything. And all I knew is that I had to be really firm with apparently these vegetable grocers. So my clients were Jimmy, Johnny, and Tommy. And what I learned from this inside sales job really quickly was, it's true, they'll swear at you. And then the cigarette guy would say to me, if anyone swears at you, swear right back and then hang up on them. And I'm like, what? And so one day I tried it. And Jimmy said something to me. I said, hey, I got a skid of tomatoes. I got to unload for $6 a skid. And he's like, you sold those to Johnny this morning. I said, no, I didn't. You're my first call, honest. And he goes, F you. And then he hangs up on me. And I'm like, what just happened here? And so then I'd call up, Tommy or somebody and be like, I got to get rid of these tomatoes or whatever. Anyways, and then Johnny would call me back and say, okay, you didn't call Jimmy. Okay, I'll take those skid of tomatoes. And what do you got for cukes and peppers? And so we'd have this sales sheet with all the skids of vegetables we had to sell. And they had to be sold because then the next day we had to get on the phone.
Yeah.
So these grocers would go and price check to see if I was being honest or not. And so you learn loyalty. and then it got I would call Johnny first because he would take my almost dying tomatoes. So he would get my first phone call, right? Because Jimmy didn't take those. And so you kind of learn the process and then you get this loyalty. And at the very end of my co-op job, my boss said, okay, we're gonna go meet the clients that you've been dealing with. And the funniest part was the one guy, he's like, oh, he goes, I thought you were going to be 6'5". You're just little. But anyways, it was it was a hard job at first for sure. And it was very high pressure because we had to get rid of these. And, but anyways, it ended up being fun. I did not want to go back to it, but it was a great learning experience.
And I'm assuming cukes are cucumbers.
Yeah, cukes, peppers. And every Friday we got a bag of fresh produce to take home.
What a joy.
So funny.
Oh my gosh. So I'm assuming there were obviously multiple cues about your achievements in sales, selling vegetables, selling photocopiers, all these different things that highlighted to you that you were a natural at sales. Did you always want to get into sales?
Yeah, I did actually. When I was going to university, I was reading, sales books, and it was weird. I was like, why am I going to university? I knew I wanted to do this, but I knew I had to do it. Mm-hmm. But I was reading like Tony Robbins.
So it was your calling and you were good at it. Like a unique ability and you were excited about it.
Yeah, I was excited to start it. And
what did rejection teach you before real estate ever entered the picture?
I would say if you ask enough times, somebody once gave me the advice, ask and ye shall receive. Probably like that one. And I was like, well, that's interesting because a lot of people just don't ask. They're afraid to ask. Mm-hmm. And they're afraid to ask for the order. And I was actually on a sales call with somebody in real estate recently. I wasn't on a sales call. I was at an open house, and I was just kind of helping them out and just being there. And before the person left, I just kind of was like, hey, and just basically close them on getting their info and this and that. And when are you buying and when are you selling? Just asking the questions. And the person said to me, wow, you have no shame at all whatsoever. And I'm like, this is our job. Like, I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions. I'm not afraid to just come right out and ask.
Yeah.
And I think rejection, the thing that you asked about the rejection part is, when I was younger, I was always asking for something. I was like, oh, I want that car. Dad, come on, we got to go buy that convertible. And he just thought I was crazy, but just things like that. And then eventually it was like, can I borrow the car? No. Can I borrow the car? Well, you're not using it tonight. Like, can I borrow the car? Well, what if I put gas in it? Like you're just constantly like, I wore him down so much that then he just didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Then it was never a no, but it was never a yes. And then I just kind of like grabbed the keys and then, okay, see ya later. And then I just left. And then it was just, it's almost like you just keep asking, and the persistence and the determination to go after what it is that you want. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it was.
Yeah, it does eventually work. I even remember in my early days in real estate, I would ask people at the door, which is crazy, like, do you want to sell your house? But you ask enough times and enough people say yes, and then you build the trust and the relationship. But even on the other end, back when things were very like, you've got to meet in person, and I would book these buyer consults and open up the map of MLS and customize their search and all these things that people would sit down and say, no one else has asked me for an appointment like this.
Yeah.
And so you also get shocked by just asking those questions. You find out what people need, right? So you're obviously a natural at sales. So after the vegetables and the photocopiers, why real estate?
So the company that I was working for was purchased by a U.S. company, and that was 15 years with that company. It was my opportunity to look at my life and go, what do I want to do next? And I had been reading a lot of real estate books, and I'm like, I'm going to be a real estate investor. That's what I'm going to be. So I started going to real estate investing companies, or, they'd have these networks. And they'd be like, okay, well, okay, that's great. Now you buy a property. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And they're like, you need like $200,000 down. I'm like, oh, I don't have 200 grand. Oh, you must know someone that has 200 grand. No, I don't. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I should probably go get my real estate license then. Because if I want to be a real estate investor, I'm going to need some money and I'm going to need a job. So that's kind of how that all happened. I genuinely thought I could just go ahead and be a real estate investor. Anyways, then I went and got my real estate license, and well, the rest is history. I love it.
That's awesome. Was there a moment in the early phases of getting into real estate that things just clicked and you went like, wow, I'm going to be really good at this?
Not in the beginning, because everybody said, oh, this is going to be so easy for you. But I was in business to business sales where it wasn't people's personal money.
Right.
And it's really easy to, get a relationship, and you want to buy 20 copiers or 50. Great. Let's go for lunch. Or, once you have that relationship established. But when you're dealing with somebody's largest financial asset, it's a little bit different. And the trust takes time. And I was a brand new agent. So I just figured everybody that did know me here was they're just going to use me as an agent. And they're like, well, if they don't, but the thing is if they don't know that you're an agent, they're not going to just call you up and, oh, I heard through the grapevine. So the first couple of years was actually really difficult for me because I expected so much more of myself.
Interesting. Someone had to just tell you, you're going to suck at this. And then you would have been off to prove them wrong.
Yeah. They're like, oh, you don't need to go on a team. You don't need anything. You've been in sales for 15 years. And, in hindsight, I would have loved to have gone on a team for a year and learned. I think it would have made a massive difference.
Yeah.
When I really realized where this could really be something was when I went to Keller Williams family reunion and I saw somebody do a session on geographical farming. And I was like, that's cool, because I'm from Vancouver. I live in Toronto. I don't have the luxury of a large database, my network of all my brother's friends, all my university friends, my high school friends, my soccer, my sports. I don't have that network.
Yeah.
And geographical farming then allowed me to go meet people that didn't know me that I could get to know. And that's when things really clicked for me that I could build this business from scratch with geographical farming. And I was very excited to start it. And after I came back from that conference, I started it.
So that people don't get confused, you didn't go get boots and become a farmer. So can you explain to all these curious real estate agents and honestly future potential customers, what is geographical farming? And then also on the flip side of that, how does that help? That must help market their properties and help find potential buyers and get you very used to the area as well. Like you're an expert.
Yeah, so that's essentially what geographical farming is. They call it geographical farming because of the reference to actual farming and planting seeds and harvesting them and watering them and watching them grow. You're doing that with people. You're going into a specific neighborhood or area and becoming an expert. Becoming an expert not only on the homes, but on the neighborhood, the amenities of the neighborhood. And you're just becoming an expert. And as you spend time in there, you just gain this intimate knowledge that no other agent really can compete with you once you do it for a certain period of time. It's really hard to compete. And then it's really just building one relationship at a door at a time. And it's just consistent. It's when it's cold, it's when it's hot, it's when it's raining. It doesn't matter. I started with the door knocking with my newsletter 4 times a year. And I just built relationships at the door. And just said, I just want to be of value to you and give you the latest up-to-date market stats for your neighborhood. And let me know if you ever have any questions. And then, it just started happening. It just eventually started happening where people were reaching out and, it just started building.
That's exciting. And I love that you're so passionate about it and teaching others about this awesome pattern of the plant the seed and watch it grow. What made you decide you wanted to build relationships first in those neighborhoods you were farming rather than just focus on transactions?
I actually think that it wasn't a decision. I think it's just who I am. And I don't look at it that way. There's so many people that have come to me and said, I don't understand why you don't have 20 people on your team. Why are you not scaling? Why are you not doing all this? I'm like, I love I love that we're this small, mighty, but powerful team because we care genuinely about each relationship that we have. And I put everything into that. And if I had 20 listings a month, and I had all these people running around. That's just me, and it works for other people. But for me, that's just not the service I want to do, and that's just not who I am. And I like that I can actually take time with somebody. I like that I can go for a coffee and listen to somebody's love story, and I spend a lot of time with people, not talking about real estate and talking about their lives.
I'd love to just reflect on something, and I know that that's very likely how you are with your clients, but from a viewpoint of where I sit, I look at you and how much you have poured into the people on your team. Like, it's just this beautiful thing. Like, you care so much about their well-being and all that they do. So it's a beautiful thing about you and a testament to how amazing you are.
I always like to say that, they're the kids that I never had. So,
yeah.
So that's
Your
why.
family.
Yeah, they're my family.
Today, your team is ranked amongst the top with Keller Williams Canada. What changed for you internally while growing your business that transformed those results that allowed that external success to show up? Because you said at the beginning, it was like, oh, I'm kind of new in this and I thought I was going to have rapid success. Was there an internal shift that created external success?
Yes, I think it was really honing in on that geographical farming. Like, I really honed in on that, and I spent probably 80% of my time building that and really seeing this works. And the kind of life that I was getting as a result of that, financially and also time-wise, I wanted the people on my team to experience that as well. And that was the internal shift, was like, wow, this works. I want them to have that. And so that's why I want to mentor them to achieve that level of success, because it does work. It's they always say it's what do they say? It's simple but not easy.
Yes.
Yeah. And I would always just say that, like, consistency is the key. But also I want to add that you genuinely have to care. You can't be sitting there going, oh, I want to farm luxury. I want to go farm, $5 million homes. Well, that's great if you do. But if you're driving 45 minutes to do that just because of the paycheck, that's just not going to work. And you have to genuinely want to build those relationships and genuinely care about those people in that neighborhood for it to really work.
Yeah, I agree. You have to have the passion and heart and genuine care for people to do it. What does leadership look like to you now compared to when you first started?
I think just continuing to be an example and a role model. And, I learned this from a lot of the different bosses I've had over the years too, is if you're going to ask somebody to do something, you better be doing it too. And an example would be, my newsletters in minus 10 degree weather. If I'm not doing it, well, my team needs to see that I'm doing this, and I do it. And I want them to see that I'm doing it, because there's no handout. There's no free pass. It takes hard work. And so now I make even more of a concerted effort to do those things, to show them this is how I did it, and this is how you can do it too.
No, I fully agree. You've got to lead by example to see success and have them actually learn from your leadership that you're taking action and it's working. How do you maintain that warmth and generosity while operating at such a high performing level?
It's just who I am. I don't try to be anything other than who I am. There's challenges in this business, and, I've been now 15 years and I still learn. We still learn all the time. And so the minute that you think you have it all figured out is the minute that you're toast. And so I have a very, it's all about the growth mindset and just continually learning it and continually being humble. And I don't think I have it all figured out. And I don't think, I'm any different than anybody else. I always just say, I'm just really consistent, and I show up every day, whether I feel like it or not.
What would you say clients would tell you that makes them feel loyal to you and have that, like, What is it about your business and the people on your team that makes them want to refer more business to you? What makes you guys so unique?
I think it's that clients really feel heard and seen and appreciated, as weird as that might sound. I'm always telling people how honored I am to have earned their business. I'm always thanking people for this opportunity because it's a huge opportunity that somebody has trusted us with their largest financial asset, and we take it very seriously. And just the level of care and communication that we give to our clients is what I believe makes us stand out. And I always say that you can never over communicate with a client because they want to know, they want to be kept up to date. And I'm not afraid to tell people the tough stuff either. And, I always say, do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want me to tell you the truth? Because I can tell you either and you can decide,
Yeah.
because a lot of people are afraid to tell the truth, especially in a market like this.
Yeah.
And I have no problem telling people the truth. And, I lost 2 listings last year that kind of broke my heart a bit. One of them was in my farm. And she actually called me about 4 months ago and said, you know what? You were right.
Wow.
And when I go to sell my house, because she didn't sell her house, I'm going to call you. And you were right. And I was wrong. And I'm like, hey, it's all good. Just take the high road. That's why when she told me I didn't get the listing, I just took the high road and said, you know what, I'll be here if you ever need a second opinion, or, if things don't work out, I'm happy to help you.
That's awesome. I love that story. Can you share what brings you the most joy outside of business?
Oh, there's a lot of things. I mean, obviously family and, that kind of stuff. Joy, things like going on experiential trips with the people that I love, just doing fun things like that, it's hard to articulate. But what I mean by that is just going and doing things. Like, this life we have is pretty short. It can be short, knock on wood. And I just want to get out there and live as much as possible. And, yes, you got to be responsible financially and all that stuff, but also you have to live. And what brings me the most joy is, just being on the water and, going up to the cottage and being around friends and all that kind of stuff.
That brings me to a funny memory of you at one of our awards events, I guess, bidding on something. You were trying to be all generous and bid on something, and it was a surprise experience.
Oh, yes.
I want to hear about it.
Oh, yeah, that was good. So my husband was on a fishing trip with the guys, and I went to this. It was a charity auction thing, was with a bunch of women, and I bid on, I'd had a few drinks, I will say. And I saw some blue water and this vacation thing, and I'm like, oh, that looks great. Oh, it's for a good cause. I'm just going to bid on it. And I couldn't even tell you what the price was, but it wasn't, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I bid on it and like, oh, I'm not going to get it for that, because it was this really unique, 7-day experience. And I was like, that I would go if I could get it for that amount. Next day I wake up and to a text message that said, congratulations, you've won. And I'm like, oh my God, I won the opportunity to pay all this money for this trip. I have nowhere, I have no idea where I'm going. And so I thought, oh, I know what I'll do. Okay, so I've already paid for it. It went on my credit card. I'm going to give it to Dave for Christmas. So anyways, it was off the coast of Nicaragua in the Caribbean Sea on a private island. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was an amazing experience, but yeah, there's planes, trains, and automobiles to get to this island. But
a memory worth having.
Yeah, it was a good memory.
What is something funny or unexpected about you that people don't see when they meet you at an open house or a listing presentation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I try to be as professional as possible in those settings. And, Fun Barb doesn't come out in at my open houses to the degree that maybe you might know me as at the cottage. Yeah, I mean, if I was a drink, I'd probably be a Jaeger bomb, right? So that's probably what they wouldn't know about me. Well,
yeah.
Maybe an espresso martini. That's more classy.
Okay.
A Jaeger bomb on the weekends, espresso martini during the week. We'll go with that.
I love it. If people remembered one thing about you years from now, what would you hope that is?
Good question. I would say that I would hope that people would remember me as somebody that was generous with my time with them.
And you already are. So I know that people will remember that for sure.
Thank you.
What would you tell the version of you? So you're day one in real estate, you're outside of the office at 8 a.m. that doesn't open till 9, and you meet future Barb. What would she tell the new real estate agent Barb in that hour at the coffee shop for advice?
I would just tell them to go at it way harder than I did. I wouldn't say I had fear. It was more like unknown. It's one of the reasons why I joined Keller Williams, was so I could learn all the things that the systems and the models, like the farming, everything, database touches, all that kind of stuff. I didn't know all that stuff. And so I think it wasn't so much fear as it was just the unknown. And so I would just tell people, immerse yourself in training, immerse yourself, just go get out there. It is a numbers game. It is sales 101. Like it doesn't matter. Like the house could be nice. It could be, it's not up to you to decide. They're going to decide if they want to buy the house or not. Right. So it is a numbers game. And that's what I would tell people is just get out there face to face or on the phone. Sales 101. That's never changed. I know everybody's jumping on the social media bandwagon and we're going to get clients that way and all this sort of thing, but nothing will get you business faster than picking up the phone and going to see people face to face.
Yep.
And ask and ye shall receive.
Yes. Amen. And what does success mean to you now?
Success to me now means being able to spend time in the way that I would like to.
Time.
It also means, I am very passionate about the people that I do work with. I want them to experience the kind of fun that this business can give you and the opportunity that it affords us if we really put in the time and show up and work hard. Because it's an incredible life that people can live. And, one of my favorite sayings is money is good for the good. Money is good for the good it can do.
Very true.
And, you can just help so many people when you have that opportunity, when you have that.
Yeah. And if you would have to say something with your next chapter, not that this chapter is closing, the continued chapter of everything Barb and real estate, what would you say you're most excited about next?
That's a great question. A lot of people say to me, when are you going to slow down? Like, I'm at that age now where people are retiring from their corporate jobs and I'm just getting started. Like, I am excited. I'm speeding up. Like, I am so excited about teaching this geographical farming course that I want to do. I'm going to be doing some things online with that. So I'm just super excited for that next chapter as well. And also making sure that, the legacy, that the people that are on my team are going to, take over my team one day.
Yeah.
And getting them ready for that chapter. That's what
exciting.
excites me.
I love that. I'm excited to see all the people that you help on the way. It's going to be incredible. And before we wrap up, I do like to ask if there's anything that I could help you with. Like if I run into someone that knows something or that I could link you to that I meet on the journey of life. Is there any sort of mystery or thing that you're trying to sort out right now?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head other than I think that you should get Vincent and I together on a podcast because I think that might be pretty funny.
Yeah, I think so. I think
that would be a fun thing to do.
We should do that for sure. And if you want to just let everybody know, because I'm sure people are going to be wanting to learn about geographical farming and more about you, even if they are selling a house and liked all that you had to say. Can you share where they can find you, your Instagram handle, your website,
Absolutely.
all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. My Instagram handle is @BarbInTheBeach, and my email address is barb@barbbest.ca.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I loved chatting and connecting and hearing all the wonderful things that you're going to continue to do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay.